Guys of a Certain Age is brought to you by no one. Absolutely no one. Except these dudes walking down memory lane. Now let's head to the studio to see what they misremember next.
And welcome back to Guys of a Certain Age. We're in the studio with
Jay Reed.
And I'm Art Shirley, and once again, not with us is Robbie Koblenz. Robbie's had some things he had to do today, so he's not going to be here with us, which gives Jay and I a chance to talk about things we want to talk about.
Right.
Change. No.
I believe Robbie's, we won't spoil the topic, but I believe his words were, "I will not watch that."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we're going to be doing a review of a movie that Jay and I have watched, and it's not actually a musical. It's actually it's a genre picture.
That was my backup subject for today. Is what musical have we seen?
But it's one Robbie doesn't want to watch or talk about, or probably even listen to this episode. He said so. He'll be among those that are not informed. But hopefully, you faithful and loyal listeners will be after this is over with. We'll see. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just kind of gearing up for the impending cold weather.
Yes. As
Mississippi
we record this,
rarely experiences.
We've got a winter blast coming our way. I think this is Friday. This is Friday, and the winter blast is coming Monday, maybe Sunday night.
Theoretically, Monday. Yeah. There's a picture of a snowflake on my weather app, and then there's no low temperature with a 2 in front of it. There's all ones.
That's right.
For the next week.
And we understand you people listening in colder climes go, oh, you people don't know what you're talking about. But it's news for us, and we're kind of I think looking forward to it, or maybe with a little trepidation because there's supposed to be some wind and things involved with it as well.
Yeah, I think the wind I found out today, every now and then there's a place in my house where I can hear if there's like a faucet running outside, and I got home this morning and I heard this little hiss. I'm like, okay, well, it could be the commode, but it could be something else, and I waited and it didn't go away. So I went outside, and this is the second time this has happened. A fence post that I have leaning up against my just against the side of the house fell and hit the faucet and turned it on.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the second time that has happened. You think I'd learn my lesson and move the fence post. But I had just bought brand new faucet covers for the impending cold weather and put it on a few nights ago, and now it's shattered and was on my porch. So I've got to replace that already.
Yeah,
but
I think I've got one I need to put on still. I put some on the other day, and I think I was like either short one, and I may have to go get one and put it on, and I need to do something for my mother's house too, because we do not want the frozen pipes.
No, been there, done that.
Yeah, burst pipes. Yeah. So hopefully we won't get that. Also, as we record this, I just shocked Jay with this news that the rest of the country has known for the past 2 days that Nick Saban is retiring, and Jay and I both being Ole Miss fans, of course, worried that our coach might be poached by Alabama, although I'm assured by all my Alabama friends that no, that's not going to happen. But hopefully Lane Kiffin will still be at Ole Miss by the time this is released.
I feel like from what I've seen that Lane is ready. He's done well enough that he'd like to spend a few more years and kind of build that up so that he will have the opportunity to go to an Alabama, whether it's the Alabama or not.
But even as fans of Ole Miss and sometimes any team that's playing Alabama, hats off to Nick Saban.
Absolutely.
The greatest that ever did it. One of the greatest, if not the greatest that ever did it. I mean, he's just a fantastic, incredible coach. As much as I hate to admit it, he's probably a pretty decent guy too. So anyway, enjoy your retirement. Please don't come back. But hats off to you. Hope
focus on the Mercedes dealerships and less on the beating us.
That's right. I understand he will still have an office there. So good luck to whoever does replace him in that regard. Yeah. Not scoring wise, but in having to deal with Nick being over your shoulder a lot. What's your geek of the week?
Well, I told you earlier you may have to help me with this look because I'm not.
And I told you I couldn't.
You couldn't. Okay, so we'll just announce it anyway. Not too many weeks ago, I saw an announcement that there is another live-action Marvel TV show, I believe, that's coming. They've gotten to the point where I don't know if production has begun, but at least they have a showrunner, the same guy that did The Punisher. Let's see. Well, I'm on the wrong website now. I was looking at something else earlier too, but it's going to be Spider-Man Noir. So Spider-Man Noir is, from what I can tell, is another sort of a separate universe Spider-Man, still bitten by the radioactive spider or some sort of venomous spider, and it was Peter Parker. But what they're saying about the new series is that it's not. That's the guy, that you've got pulled up. What's his
Steve
name?
Lightfoot.
Right. So he's going to be the showrunner, but they're saying that it's going to be not Peter Parker. And everybody that I read comments was like, well, that's not Spider-Man Noir then, because Spider-Man Noir was a Peter Parker in a universe or whatever.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So it should be interesting. I mean, I like the Spider-Mans. I've liked all the Spider-Man stuff.
And I have
so
seen
far.
this character before. I think he makes an appearance in one of the animated shows, the Spider-Man Across and Beyond the Universe, whatever. And I still haven't watched the second one yet.
I believe Nicolas Cage
voices him.
I think that's right. In the multi-outer Spider-Verse or whatever. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I don't remember what he looked like.
Yeah. So did they say who's playing him? It's not Miles Morales.
I don't think they've.
They just don't want to be
given
Peter
a
Parker.
name yet. Yeah.
And it may be that they think, for the average public, the idea of having Peter Parker as this Spider-Man is too confusing. I think they're underrating the viewer's intelligence. I think we can figure that out.
And the character, do you know? I'm guessing just being noir, it's a darker story.
Yeah, it looks like he's dressed almost like the Shadow.
Almost like Venom in a shadow hat, kind of, because he's totally black.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a trench coat and he's got a pistol here.
Yeah, I think he did. I did see one little quote that said, why does Spider-Man Noir use a gun? So I don't know what the story is on that, but it should be interesting. It didn't say timeline or anything, but I believe it's going to be on Amazon, so I guess that would be Prime.
But he still has Spider-Man's powers? I mean, he's still able to do the
as far as
wall
I can
crawling and all that kind of stuff?
I think so.
Okay. I'm just not familiar with him at all.
Yeah, well,
or, like I said, other than seeing him in that.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, that's right.
Not familiar with a lot of them. But learning here. This is educational for me to be.
Okay, that's good. I guess for me too now.
Educational podcast.
I'll have to go educational podcast.
We'll have to change our category.
That's right. The more you know. That's right. Yeah, we'll change our category.
What is our category?
I don't know. What is it?
Low listener.
Please, listeners, please call in and tell us what our category should be.
Yeah, call in our toll-free number, whatever that might be.
That's right.
Our Instagram and Facebook and email that nobody checks.
Useless waste of bandwidth is what we might fall into the category of. My category is sad. My category. My Geek of the Week is sad news. January 5th, 5 days as we record this, Larry Collins passed away, and that name is probably not familiar to a lot of you. Maybe some of you have heard him before. He used to be part of the Collins Kids, and when he was 9 or 10 years old, used to perform with his older sister Lori Collins. It was Lori and Larry Collins, and they were a rockabilly act. They were on a lot of shows like Grand Ole Opry and stuff. And Larry, even at that age, it was an incredible guitarist, just this phenomenal guitarist. And he would dance all around the stage, like this little kid with the crew cut. And he played a double-necked Mose Wright guitar. His mentor and inspiration was Joe Maphis, who also did the same thing. It's a brand of electric guitar, but it had two necks, two different scales on it.
Okay.
And he could really play it, and a lot of just high energy rockabilly kind of stuff. He and his sister would harmonize on things, but a lot of times she would sing and he would play. But just a really phenomenal thing. And I don't know how I ended up where I saw them. I saw them on a YouTube video a couple of years ago, and just started looking up everything I could find on these folks. So they're fascinating. And Lori passed away in 2018. Now, she had dated Ricky Nelson from The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and actually had appeared on the show, played a character who was one of twins. One twin dated Ricky, the other dated the brother David.
Okay.
And Ricky kept trying to have
she played the twins.
She played both. Twins. She played both parts. Okay. And was on a few episodes, and she and Ricky sang together on an episode. And Ricky kept trying to make her a regular of the show, but they didn't do that. They didn't end up together in the long run. But anyway, the Collins kids did get together sometime in Lori passed away in 2018, so sometime before that, and performed at some events to get back together and do that. But he was just a fascinating guy. Even you'd see him talking about that time period in music, and of course, as a little kid, he got to see all these great performers. And
so when would he have been on the Opry?
Their peak time was like mid 50s to mid 60s.
Okay.
So I think 54, when he was 10 years old, was their first time on one of the shows. I can't remember which show it was. I know they were on Tex Ritter's show, Grand Ole Opry show, and several. There were a bunch of these country. Porter Wagner had a show, right?
Probably Hee Haw.
Yeah, I don't know that they were ever on Hee Haw, but I can't imagine that they weren't. And by that time, they were broken up because they are not performing together. But I could see one of the other one probably being on Hee Haw because they both went on to try to do things in solo careers. But anyway, sorry to hear about his passing. If you get a chance, look up the Collins kids. It's just really, really fun stuff to see.
So educate me on this too. You're a guitar player. The double neck guitar, is it two sets of strings?
Yeah, it's two necks. So
I've seen them.
Yeah, it's like they put two guitars on one body.
Okay.
So you've got everywhere from you've got two different fretboards, and then you've got all the way down to a bridge on both. So you've got two sets of strings, each going to their own different bridge. So you basically got a chance to play two different guitars. And what you'll have either, and I can't remember if this is what he had or not. A lot of times you'll have a 12-string at the top, or a 12-string is one, and then a 6-string on the other one. Sometimes you may have them tuned to different, keys.
Okay.
So, like if you wanted to play slide on something, you may have it tuned to an open G or an open E, and you're playing slide on that, and then you're going to play. But a lot of times you want just something that's going to sound completely different.
Okay.
So I think.
So you're not going back and forth necessarily unless. At a rapid rate. You're not going back.
You might be, yeah. I mean, Jimmy Page played one in Led Zeppelin on some songs, so you'll see him playing some stuff, and then you'll see some stuff. I think there's something. I want to say it's the Vaughan brothers, Stevie Ray Vaughan and his brother Jimmy Vaughan, who are playing one. And Stevie Ray's playing it, and Jimmy's reaching over him and playing it. So one of them's playing the top neck, and one of them's playing the bottom neck. Then they switch. So the other one's playing the top neck and the bottom neck, and then they switch, and one of them's playing the fretboard with on the bottom neck while strumming or picking the top one, and vice versa. And it is incredible to see.
Grief, I need to look that
and I'm
up.
pretty sure that's who that is. I think it's the Vaughan brothers playing.
Okay.
That. And it's really cool. But
that's fascinating.
Very heavy guitar, especially because it's a solid body guitar and just a really kind of heavy guitar. But Mose Wright was a brand that is probably not as well known now, unless you're a guitar collector or somebody kind of that's interested in guitars. But Joe Maphis kind of really popularized that guitar, and I think the Ventures may have played Mose Wright guitars. I think they had some stuff, and I could be wrong about that, but it seemed like they had their own brand in there. We'll do a guitar episode.
We need to, yeah. I'll bring my 4-string tenor guitar and play the
there you go.
The 3 chords that I used to know.
3 chords and the truth. That's right. All right, now is it time to unveil the segment that we teased last time?
I think it's time.
Okay. And this segment we're going to call Jay's Regrettable segment. Jay, please tell us what's going on.
The time will tell whether it is or not. So as we mentioned in the last episode, but I'll go over it again. I found this book, and I found it in Robbie's office. He had a stack of books that he didn't want anymore, and I thought this was kind of cool. It's called The League of Regrettable Superheroes. John Morris is the author and compiler, I guess, of this, because he's compiled a lot of it. But the idea is that these are a bunch of comic book superheroes that didn't make it very far. Maybe only a few appearances, maybe only a few seasons. I'm speaking a little too modern. A few episodes,
a few issues.
A few issues is the word I'm looking for.
Both still stuck at TV.
Right. So some of them have come back. Some of them have been rebooted. Some of them are parallel, I guess, to some. As we get farther along in the timeline, you'll see more that you recognize. But I just thought it'd be fun to kind of go through. There's if we did one every week, there'd be about a year's worth of
Okay, that's great.
Topics here, so
that's what you're going to do is go through and mention one of these regrettable superheroes.
Yeah, so it starts.
I just thumbed through the book as Jay was talking, and I did see some that I recognized. Dollman's in there, who was kind of a precursor, or maybe he was around the same time as the original Golden Age Atom. But he's kind of I think that's his powers. He's a small guy. I could be wrong about that, but I do seem to remember Dollman being that. Also, when you originally talked about this, I thought most of these were going to be, what is that?
Peacemaker is in here.
Okay.
And he's got his own show now. So some of them have been rebooted.
So and how old is this book?
Let's see. Copyright 2015. So
okay,
it's got
so
a
this
few
was
years.
kind of before Peacemaker was resurrected by the Suicide Squad movie and now his own series, played by John Cena. But some of these, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You looked at me like, that's not played by John Cena. It's The Rock.
Just listening intently. Yeah.
But like I said, some of these I've heard of. And then when you originally talked about it, I thought surely these were some that were probably, at the latest, the 40s or 50s maybe at the latest. But heroes, superheroes that we had long since forgotten. But some of these are, like.
Yeah, the book is divided into
late 20th century, surely. And maybe if not, maybe into the 21st. But I think probably mostly late 20th century.
Yeah, because like one of them towards the end is the Super Sons of Batman and Superman.
See, I remember that actually, that's in the 70s. I remember really enjoying those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be some towards the end, especially that we will recognize.
Yeah.
But some of because that's the modern age, 1970 to present, and then you got the Golden Age and the Silver Age, I think. So the Golden Age is just the most fast. I've only read through the Golden Age so far. I'm getting ready to start the Silver Age. But the Golden Age is fascinating.
We've whetted our listeners' appetite enough. Please proceed with the first of the regrettable superheroes.
The first one is his name is or his identity is whatever 711 or 711.
711. Okay.
711. So the guy's name
711 probably.
711. The actual person's name is Daniel Dice, D-Y-C-E. He's an attorney.
Now, are these superheroes or supermarkets?
Oh, yeah. Superheroes. This guy has an interesting backstory. He was an attorney and didn't make a good attorney decision. He had a good friend who was about to go to prison for life, whose wife was about to have a baby. So the attorney Daniel decided that he would confess to the crimes of this guy.
My gosh.
So that his friend could go and be with his wife, and then the plan was he would come back, confess to the crimes, get Daniel out of prison, and he would go to prison. So it was all worked out, just like it's supposed to be. And as the author said, it was like the typical, sounds like a good sitcom script.
Yeah.
Because the guy dies on the way to the hospital, and nobody is there to proclaim the innocence of the attorney. So he's in prison, but somehow.
So is his prison number 711?
His prison number is 711. Okay. So that's where he goes by.
Little Les Mis kind of.
Exactly, yeah. 24601.
That's pretty good.
We can harmonize there. The thing is, though, he's in prison. Somehow he figures a way to tunnel out of prison. So he tunnels out of prison at night, fights crime,
and then
comes back to prison by morning and resumes the sentence. And so the idea is that he gets prison gossip and kind of finds things out.
Hey, that's not too
while
bad.
He's there, and then goes out and fights the crime at night, and then comes back.
That's not too bad.
And it's just random. He's doesn't have any superpowers or anything like that. It came out in 1941, Police Comics #1. It didn't say how long he lasted, but one of his villains was called Brickbat. It was a lime green costume who threw bricks full of poisonous gas at people.
Okay.
The other one was a guy that said he talked to him about himself in the third person, Oscar Jones, racketeer.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert, the career of 711 ends when Oscar Jones, racketeer, shoots him, and that's it.
Oh, really? So it's actually got a finish to the series.
It has a finish, yeah. And the eyewitness to the killing takes over, like he's in the next issue or something. So he's no more 711.
Yeah.
But Yeah, very definitive finish.
I like that. So I think we should, at the end of these, I think we should vote regrettable or not regrettable.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking that's not regrettable.
It's
that's
not
a great
no
story.
I think it's a good story, and
I think you could make a limited series of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you might want to give him a power. Maybe he has a power where he can, phase through walls, and that's how he escapes versus going through a tunnel. But you don't necessarily have to do that. But the idea that he's going back and finding about crimes, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not a bad story.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, I don't know why it didn't hold water in 1941.
Well, probably because you've got Superman, Batman really hitting it big then. So if you have a hero, but you had other types of before that, you had other types of detectives like Slam Bradley and different types of heroes. But the caped heroes were really coming in. Mm-hmm. So somebody that didn't have a power, or didn't even, of course, Batman didn't have superpowers.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Also, you have the war that started.
And you'll see that you're going to see that over and over as we go through these. A lot of them fight Nazis and are war related. Right. Pat Parker, war nurse, is one of them.
But like Captain America, Uncle Sam for DC or national periodicals at that point. Patriotic heroes also kind of had an upsurge during that point too. So
and there's a lot of that in here. And the other little tidbit I thought was interesting. You may know this name. George Brenner was the creator. It said he also created the Clock.
Yeah.
Who was the first masked hero in comics. And so he has a good pedigree as far as his creation is concerned. But he's pretty much just
the first one. That's pretty
kind of a Batman without gadgets, I guess. No really superpower, but
I really and I think he would probably play today better than then because you want a kind of more of a realistic hero. We're still watching Jack Reacher. We've got one more episode of that left, which will come out next week, and that although he is basically really more powerful than sometimes it seems like they're stretching it some
right.
Just like John Wick or Equalizer 3, which we watched recently too. It's like, could these people really survive shovel to the face that often or something? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's kind of grounded in reality more so than superhero things are. And so I think people might like that, having somebody that's sneaking out of prison somehow, then coming back. And I'm sure there are all kinds of things where, is he going to make it back before they discover he's gone? That'd be kind of neat. Or the other, is some other inmate going to find out what he's doing, and does he have to deal with somebody in prison?
Right, and that's another thing they said, was that a lot of times he would the people that he would put in prison or catch or whatever at night would end up in prison with him later.
Okay. That's pretty good.
But didn't know it was him.
Know that was him.
Didn't know it was him. Right,
that's I like it. Like I said, not regrettable. I'm going to say not regrettable.
Okay. 2 thumbs up on the not regrettable.
711, maybe, if it's his prison number, who knows?
Yeah.
Whichever fits the song better.
711.
The musical version of it, what we're looking for.
Right.
All right. On that note, though, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and look at another superhero and decide if the latest movie, or so far the only movie featuring the superhero, is regrettable or not. Right after the break. And we're back, and I'm still thinking about the 711. I really like that concept or whatever. I want to see a limited series on that.
Well, trust me, there are more that will not get the same.
We'll look forward to more of that segment.
Thumbs up.
A hero that just got a movie recently, and I don't think it did very well at the box office. I seem to remember it having a pretty good start and then fizzled out very quickly by the second weekend, is DC's Blue Beetle. I don't know where this falls in the DCU, James Gunn, DC, universe or whatever they're going. I don't think he's necessarily out. I think that he's probably distanced enough from some of the other stuff where they could continue to keep this hero. But
that's what I've read. That Gunn wants to. He hasn't ruled out another appearance, but probably not another movie.
Okay.
But he might show up again.
All right, so it's the Blue Beetle, and this is the third incarnation of the Blue Beetle. We've had, I'm forgetting now who all. We've had Ted Kord was one of them, and that name.
He's in this movie.
The name features in this one.
Is anyway.
And I'm drawing a blank on the other one. And then this is Jaime, I'm sorry. Reyes?
Reyes, yes.
Yeah,
Jaime Reyes.
All right. And the Blue Beetle character seems to be kind of amalgam of several different characters.
Yes.
I mean, there's certainly a Spider-Man kind of influence with the Beetle and the bug and everything. There's an Iron Man because he's wearing a suit, an armored suit that basically gives him his powers. And there's also a Green Lantern element because in the original, the Scarab chooses him, and there's a Scarab that attaches a Scarab, which is a Beetle, attaches to his back,
right.
and would. Become the Blue Beetle, help him, turn into the Blue Beetle armor. In this one, this is some technology that some weapons technology that he ends up with from Cord Industries. Is that right?
Well, I think it's an amalgamation, but the Scarab is still alien tech, from what I gathered. It wasn't created by Cord Industries, but Cord Industries has a similar. It's the OMAC, and I can't remember what OMAC stands for.
One-Man Army Corps.
Right.
Which is another hero, Jack Kirby created hero that looked nothing like at all like it was. Yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of a super soldier thing, One-Man Army Corps.
Right. So in this movie, they basically have it so that the OMAC is very much like the Scarab. I mean, he's still got something on his back, and it transforms him a little bit.
Yeah.
But the Scarab tech is infused later, spoilers of course, is infused into the OMAC tech at some point in the movie, and it's supposed to complete it.
And there's for the Blue Beetle costume, there's a sentient almost presence to the Scarab or the Blue Beetle technology.
Symbiotic.
And he has to sometimes kind of convince that sentient thing not to kill, to do what he wants, but at the same time, it also helps him fight. It gives him some skills which is very
100%.
similar to what we saw in, and I can't remember which movie it is now, when Spider-Man had the suit from Tony Stark that had different levels and would augment what his powers were and his fighting skills were. And I can't remember which one that was, but anyway, it's one where he got
the suit. But.
Yeah. But how did you like the movie? What did you think?
Well, I got to tell you, when I first started it, I had this sense of this is about to be a big budget opportunity missed. And I don't know if I set myself up with those expectations, but that it sort of met that expectation.
Yeah.
You could tell it was big budget. I mean, I think I read that it was $120 million. You were talking about the box office. I think eventually they did make that much or more.
Right.
They didn't do great, but they were expecting more of a flop than it actually was.
Okay, so they were expecting it did a little better than
it was kind of like they thought it would be a flop, but after the
I
whole
think it must have lasted
thing,
a little longer than they thought, because it had a big drop off the first weekend, but it may have continued to do okay well enough, for a longer term. So that's good.
And then when it came to Max, apparently it was the #1 streaming movie.
Oh, really?
In the beginning, even came close to Spider-Verse.
And I think that's probably, we've talked about this before, I think that's becoming more and more of a problem. And I would think in a lot of ways for the lesser known superhero movies. If you've got something, that might feature a Thor or something, you might go to the theaters and see it. But if you're not sure about it, you say, well, I'll just wait till it comes on one of these streaming services I'm already paying for and just wait and watch it. I don't have to. Pretty much, you're not too worried about the story being spoiled, especially with an origin story like this, because it's basically going to be the same thing. You're going to get some tech, you're going to get some responsibility, you're going to lose somebody, and then you're going to decide that you're going to be a hero for the rest of your life. Spoiler alert, that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, there were so many other elements, too, that, like you mentioned, the Spider-Man parallel, there's an Uncle Ben parallel almost. I mean, very close, where he loses his dad, and his dad's kind of the hero of the family, and the dad was one of my favorite characters, actually.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I thought I really, and this is something that I think an opportunity they missed, is they set it up to be very much a family movie, and the family dynamic is great in there. And then being DC, it went a little too dark for family to me. And, I mean, not way overboard,
like a weird mix almost.
Yeah, it was just to me. I told, in fact, when I described it to Robbie, I said it seemed very much like a Power Rangers movie, because you've got this young, I can't remember if he's supposed to be, I think he was just college age, right? He's about to,
he just graduated from college. Yeah, that's
college. He just graduated from college and was looking for a job,
and was considering law school until he got home and found out the family was about to lose the house to court industries.
Right, and so, Power Rangers are high school kids or whatever, but it felt like that, especially the uniform, the costume or whatever and everything. And Power Rangers, I mean, that's not a knock against that, but it kind of had that feeling to me. And then somehow when they went, I guess maybe it got a little too. Like I said, it got a little too dark for me to be considered a family-friendly type movie. Others may disagree. I may be, a little.
Well, it had some language.
And then some of the violence got a little. It seems like it got a little brutal.
Yeah, and Melissa, she made it for maybe 30 minutes of the version of it before she crashed out on me. But she looked at the way the beetle embedded itself in the spine, kind of the picture. She was like, "That's gross."
Yeah, it was kind of gross.
Because I was expecting it just to kind of be, from what the previews I'd seen, just to kind of be locked
sitting
onto
on
his neck, and then that was
But it was very much like flesh was coming around.
And the way they described it entering him was a bit more graphic than I cared to know as well.
Now, it had a couple big names in it. I mean, Susan Sarandon plays the villain. And
I read something about, I wondered why she chose this. Was this a cash grab? Was this her opportunity to be in a superhero flick? What was the deal? And apparently she was really interested in the director.
Okay.
She thought the director had a lot going for him and liked the nuances of the story and that sort of thing. But to me, it was like a wasted opportunity. She was not a bad person for that character, I think. But I think they just underplayed her. I think they could have.
And then George Lopez is in there, and
he pretty much did what I expected.
Yeah, played the hippie stoner uncle, and nothing good, nothing particularly good, nothing particularly bad. He was fun. He was obviously the comic relief a lot of times,
and kind of the underhero.
Yes, And I always like George Lopez.
Yeah,
So, so I really thought he was going to be the one that ended up being, more of the mentor of it. And he wasn't the dad. The dad was the one that I think was the one that was, like you said,
kind of the heart,
the Uncle Ben character. Yeah.
And there were some moments when I thought this was kind of like the Miss Marvel family.
Yeah.
In a way.
That's a very good comparison.
But I don't think they did as good a job with the family dynamic as Miss Marvel did.
I liked this family too.
Yeah.
But I really bought the dynamic and them as a family in Miss Marvel, especially in the movie The Marvels.
Right.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good point. I think that there's, I know there's a lot of hate on Miss Marvel. It seems like I don't understand it, but this was an opportunity for Blue Beetle to kind of capture that same audience, because Miss Marvel is definitely aimed at, a younger demographic and have more fun with it. And they seem to be going that direction sometimes, and then they seem to be going, so that, to me, it seemed like they didn't really quite know where they were headed, direction-wise.
Yeah, I don't know. The fight scenes just seemed a bit too, the word that comes to mind is contrived, but there wasn't anything unique about it, really. I don't know. Everything that happened, I kind of expected to happen. Yeah. From the fight with Sanchez or whatever. Yeah. Not Sanchez was the other guy.
There were no real surprises in it at all. And, again, at this point, for a lot of movies, a lot of these superhero movies, there just aren't surprises anymore. I think that's why people are not probably going to the theater and seeing them in the numbers they used to.
And I guess with a superhero movie, there's not always going to be a surprise because if they're following the comics, if you know the comics, which I don't, but as well as y'all do, but you might already know what's going to happen, but it's how they tell the story. And I'm just not sure they told the story as well as they could have. And the whatchamacallit, the clip at the end, the credit scene, after credit scene, definitely led you to think, okay, there's another movie potentially coming. Yeah. But now they're saying there's not. So what's going to happen?
And I can't remember I can't remember the second. What the end credit scene was?
What was there? I only saw a mid credit scene.
Mid credit scene. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they go back into the Blue Beetle cave.
Yeah.
Essentially, another parallel.
Yes.
And of course, you also had the Watchmen parallel with the bug mobile.
Well, the Watchmen is, I mean, it's inspired by that character.
Was it? Okay.
The Blue Beetle was a Charlton character, and originally Alan Moore wanted to use those Watchmen characters. So the owl, night owl rather, is Blue Beetle. In fact, I'm looking at the Blue Beetle thing because I want to remember who the first Blue Beetle was. Dan Garrett in the comics. The second one was Ted Kord, and Ted Kord is the one that was in Charlton Comics. Now, DC bought Charlton Comics, and they have the rights to all those things now. But when they did, Alan Moore could not use those characters. Even though it was a DC, Watchmen was a DC book, he couldn't use those characters because they wanted to do other things with those characters.
Okay.
So if you remember in the Watchmen, there are two night owls. There's an original night owl who kind of had almost a Robin Hood kind of costume, and then you've got the second guy whose name was Dan, and who is more like a Batman. Seemed more like a Batman inspiration to me.
Right.
But the Blue Beetle, the vehicle that they drove in the movie is very much like the Owl Mobile or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of the thing was from the Watchmen. But well, I think where we were headed before I diverted was the mid credit scene was we need our own mid credit scene to wrap this up and go. Here's what we really meant to say.
So it goes into the lair and the computer starts crackling and it's Ted Kord saying, "I don't know who turned my computer on, but whoever you are, please get a message to my daughter. I'm alive."
Oh wow, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So I mean that,
and the daughter, by the way,
that? Who knows?
Ted Kord's daughter is the love interest. Did we mention that at all?
No, not yet. Okay. So, and she's one of the main characters in it. And she does a decent job.
Yeah, everything was, I don't think anything was bad about the movie. I just think, like you said, there wasn't anything particularly new about it. And there were times to me that they didn't feel like they knew exactly what kind of movie they were making. Is it going to be a family friendly, anybody, PG, and it was PG-13, I guess. Yeah. But, to me, it's not something I would take young kids to see.
No.
And I think at some point they need to start making some movies that are for young kids to build the audience. Because, I mean, we're talking about, how many years have Marvel movies been made? I mean, they've got to continue to grow the audience, so they've got to have some movies to bring in younger kids. I guess, maybe that's the prude parent in me talking, but, probably the younger kids are going to see it in the ones that go and see it. But
my kids would roll my eyes when I would say stuff like that. So.
Let's not do this. But
they wouldn't roll my eyes. They would roll their eyes at me. Sorry.
They would roll your eyes.
Roll my eyes.
God. That's kind of graphic right there.
Yeah.
Right? That's right. PG. That's actually R-rated. I think if we get in terms of violence, they were rolling in his father's eyes. Anyway, but
I don't regret watching it.
No, I was going to say I'd watch it. Okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine and also a listener yesterday about the movie, and he'd watched it. And I can't remember what had. I think I was telling him it was not nearly as bad as the Shazam movie, the second Shazam movie.
Yeah, something I read basically said the same thing.
Yeah. It's kind of right there with Green Lantern in terms of, watchability, which I know people hate Green Lantern, but mainly because of the animated suit, but that's not as bad a movie as it gets the rap for. It's and people are also divided on the Flash. I really liked the latest Flash movie.
Yeah, I did too.
But again, those are movies I'd watch, but not necessarily go, oh, this is a really good movie.
And it called to my mind if they let this out, and it's not bad, but it's not great. How could Batgirl have been so bad?
How bad could it be?
And I started reading about that
if they let Shazam 2 out.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Right?
Have you seen that?
Yeah. Well, The Fury of the Gods. Yeah.
I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah. And that had big names in it.
Exactly.
You had Ellen Mirren and Lucy Liu in it. That should have been a good movie. The first one was good, but yeah, Batgirl. What was going on? That had to be just a tax.
Yeah, and the girl that played, I forget her name, and I can see her face, but the one that was playing Batgirl said that she had seen a cut and she thought it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's biased a little bit, but and I don't know. It's maybe one day they'll.
But sometimes actors will say, "No, I'm glad didn't come out." Because they can realize, okay, well, this might have been damaging to my career.
But Brenda Fraser and her, there was a lot going for this.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's another episode.
Yeah.
But I really wondered, this wasn't top-notch fare. So how bad must people have thought it was?
Like I said, I don't regret watching it. It's not a regrettable movie to me. And maybe one I would put on just kind of have in the background and watch and kind of to reappraise maybe. I don't know that I have not as yet said, hey, you need to watch Blue Beetle yet. So I don't know that I'd recommend it to anybody to watch, but it's certainly, if you find yourself with nothing else and want to watch a superhero movie, it's not the worst one.
And I wouldn't mind seeing him reappear.
Not as bad as Eternals.
No.
No,
I didn't think that was awful either. But
yeah, I would like to see the character reappear. I think they might Justice League, the new DC universe might do well to have something where you might have some heroes cross over into other movies, kind of like Marvel has done, and not just cameos, but actually have them play like a small supporting part in something.
Yeah, and I do like the fact, and a lot of to-do was made of this in the beginning. It is a Latin superhero.
Yes.
You don't have a lot of that. So
Right.
so I think that is great. And it showed them, they were talking about, they made a big deal out of them being a Mexican family.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of social
And that's true to the modern
stuff.
version of the comic. Okay, this is one that has not been changed for the movie, which I know a lot of people don't like. But no, this character has been around for a while. In fact, if you watch any of the Batman Brave and Bold animated series, he's the Blue Beetle that is in there with Batman, and those are fun. Those are really, really good.
Okay.
And he's they're very much of a Peter Parker, teenager, those kind of problems vibe to it, but that's okay. But like I said, I think that's a great thing that they brought this character to life that way, and also are still making acknowledgments to the past ones too. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. But just like I said, I think we both agree. What did you say your first impression was? Big budget movie that could have been
It was missed potential.
missed opportunity. I think that's exactly what we need to say about this. Missed potential.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks a lot for listening. Remember, we'll be back next time with another regrettable superhero, Jay's regrettable segment. So we're looking forward to that. I kind of want to look ahead now. Anyway, everybody take care, and we'll see you next time.